We've got a good one for you tonight. We want to talk about emotional intelligence in leadership and how does this affect your business and why this is important for you to have an understanding of emotional intelligence. Today, we all talk about IQ, and IQ is measures your intelligence as an individual and your ability to problem solve and be able to handle difficult situations. But most entrepreneurs and what most leaders fail to focus on is that emotional intelligence. And the high IQ in leadership isn't about emotion, it's about emotional preciseness. It's about understanding that it's not about being able to just be emotionally controlled, but it's about being consistent in your emotions and how you lead through those hard, stressful times and events in which we all face as leaders. Whether you're the business owner or you're a department head, you are going to face challenges that are going to drive your emotions off the roof. And how you handle yourself through those peaks and valleys of emotional rides is going to set the tone for your ability to stay clear headed and your ability to lead and enable others to follow the guidance that you're trying to give. And so let's talk a little bit about what does this look like? What is an organization that doesn't have EQ or emotional intelligence? What you find is, as an example, passive aggressive emails. You have blame shifting. You have lack of clarity, and you have people that just don't get it type of syndrome. And so, how does emotional intelligence affect your day to day business? For one, it affects through retention. Retention is a big one. You will lose so many good people because of your leadership ability or lack of to manage your emotions and to lead with controlled emotions. The second one is through constant conflict in the organization. And lastly, through staff engagement. But I want to talk about actually this and how is it apply as an entrepreneur and leader. And I want Willie, if you could share what your experiences were on how you were able to control your emotional intelligence, how you've applied that both in your personal and I know in your business lives as well.
For sure. Hey, Hector, you're cutting out there a little bit. I don't know if it's on my end or if it's for everyone. But yeah, with the emotional side of things, it can get pretty hard when things are going sideways on the business side and staying calm, what you were saying, and collective on those is so important. I think that's one thing that I had to work the hardest on is staying calm when we were pretty chaotic in our team and our company not making money. And with that also brings a whole lot of stress to to the home as well. And so there was a lot of times also the emotions that maybe the spouse brings to it. And so I had to balance the personal life and the business. But looking back, I heard another guy talk about this the other day, and he said it's one of the most valuable things you can learn if you can stay calm under pressure. And so I think that's what you're talking about, Hector.
Go through, for lack of better words, a shitstorm and coming out with it still with your integrity, with your ability to lead unaffected. Those are critical points as leaders that most people, unfortunately, don't put focus on. And the other piece, as we talked about, and we'll talk through it in this topic tonight, but is entrepreneurship that pulls the plug too early or leaders that quit teams too early because of their lack of emotional intelligence. And you find it often with entrepreneurs that go bankrupt or they fold businesses too early because they haven't been able to stomach those early tough years. As we talk through this, we need to understand first the self-awareness. What is the self-awareness and the self-regulation piece? Because as leaders, we need to know it firsthand.
Hey, Hector, I think we lost you. Peter, can you hear me? Just
What
to
are
test.
your leadership blind spots?
Oh, hey, Hector, you might want to back up about 20, 30 seconds. We couldn't hear you at all. Oh, I think we lost Hector, so let's see if he can get back on. He figured the service was good where he was driving, but I guess not. Anyone in the group, any thoughts around the emotional side of trying to build a business or on top of personal life? Any thoughts around that? James, what's your thought? Hey,
I missed a whole bunch of the conversation because my Wi-Fi kicked me out, so I had to reconnect.
oh, okay,
Eh,
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I only got very few bits and pieces of the first little bit here.
Oh, yeah, no, all good. Okay, I'm gonna see if Hector comes back on the call here. And Peter, any thoughts from you?
To be honest with you, I missed also a few because my internet was also poorly connecting. I don't know why. I got also
Okay.
kicked out.
Okay, yeah, all good. Well,
I oh sorry.
just waiting for Hector to come back on here. Oh, go ahead, James.
Yeah, I thought it was Hector's end, and he never came back. And then all of a sudden, I found out I was completely nobody else was moving, and it was my side. So I
Okay.
had to get back on. But
Okay. To me, it looks like Hector is having some issues there. And Cecilia, how are you today? Oh, you're driving as well.
Yes. Yeah, I'm almost home. Yeah, I left a bit early, but then there was an accident. So yeah, it was. Yeah, no, I think this one I thought is pretty interesting. The emotional intelligence. I actually, a few years back, I took a seminar on this because yeah, I was working in human resources, and yeah, if people really don't talk about it because it's like a weird subject, like not a lot of people know enough about it, or they think they know but then they don't really know how to connect it to work. And it's interesting because we use it every day. We communicate with people every day. We're working with teams every day, and
Hmm.
and just the way we communicate with our team players, with our customers, with everyone, we that we always have to think that people have emotions, and we apply it. So it's interesting to see how everybody has different reactions to the same to the same issue that we're having, and how people handle it, right? So I think it's all connected, but it's also good how you learn the people that you work with. So you don't always approach every different people with the same issue. You approach them in a different way because you know how they are, and you don't realize you do it, but you are actually doing it, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
for sure. No, and so from oh, now I see Hector, I think, is able to join again. Very good, Cecilia. Oh, Hector made it back to the house.
We're back. We're back. Sorry. Yeah, made it back home. We were like coming down the hill, and that's when I lost signal. But
Oh, yeah.
made it back to the house, so we're good.
Very good. No, awesome. We'll turn it back over to you. We were just discussing a little bit what we're getting so far out of it.
Okay, good, good. I'm glad. I'm glad that you're able to have a little bit of conversation around it. As I was saying, the emotional intelligence piece is so critical, but the awareness part is where I think we need to start with, and understanding what are those triggers for us as leaders, and understanding how do we pivot around it? How do we manage through it? And performing with confidence, like I was saying, is so important. However, when we start to leak frustration and we start to show that around our teams, it is sometimes really deterrent. And so we have to be mindful of when we share our frustration. We need to understand that we're human and that we're going to be able to express ourselves, but it has to be within those zones and those individuals that will not determine or deterrorize, I should say, our leadership. So understanding that, and then understanding those blind spots is so critical for us to continue to show that we are leading with confidence consistently. So that means your tone, your posture, the way that you speak is so important. So being mindful of that is critical for your teams and critical for you to be viewed as a leader going forward. So I want to go back to experiences that we've had where you may be challenged, you may be frustrated, you may be upset, and you want to vent and you want to let that out. And in those instances is when we need to be the most cool-headed. That's when we need to certainly be grounded and be able to look at the bigger picture and not be emotionally pushed to make that knee-jerk reaction. I think we've all seen it before where you may hire somebody on an emotion because you're stressed about the fact that you're short-staffed. This person seems to check most of the boxes, but not all of them, but you're short-staffed, so you make the wrong hire. That is an emotional sign that you need to look at controlling in the future. Staying grounded, staying tough through those tough times, seeing it through, and finding the right hire is the right choice. That's how you want to move forward. Or in another instance, you get pissed off because a team member or an individual in the team does something that upsets you, and all of a sudden you're ready to fire them on emotion. That is, again, another example of where we need to check ourselves and look at the bigger picture and really understand, is this good for my business or is it going to be hurting the business and the team? So having those checkpoints is really important for us as we continue to grow. Let's talk about a real live situation. You're in a meeting, you're having an opportunity to discuss an issue in a meeting, and you're talking through a group. Someone then looks over at you and says, hey, yeah, but you didn't accomplish your task, right? That's a trigger. You just called me out in front of the whole group. How do you handle that situation? Will now be a step for you to show yourself and prove yourself as a leader, or as an excuse maker and go down an emotional rabbit hole. Nope, you're right. I didn't finish that task. I was completely overburdened and I didn't prioritize correctly. I'll own it. It was on me. My bad. Now, in a group of leaders, that person just showed accountability and just accepted what needed to happen. Going forward, you heard him say, yeah, I'll make sure I prioritize correctly, versus an excuse maker, right? And who's seen that? Everybody's had an opportunity to see events similar to that, I'm sure, and where you may have been the person being called out on. And how did you react to it? So let's keep that in mind for later on when we're discussing these topics. And so that takes me into talking about empathy and influence and understanding human interactions, and that empathy versus emotional entanglement, and understanding that, hey, because it is an emotional connection doesn't mean that you have to be able to always go that way. And what I mean by this is, like, a misconception is that empathy means saying yes to everything, or empathy means that you're being soft, which is wrong. Just because you can empathize with an individual doesn't mean you need to agree with them. I can empathize that you're going through a bad personal event back home. A lot of us through our careers, we'll go through some of these. You'll have a coworker, you'll have people that go through financial or emotional distress, like a divorce, as an example. And you can empathize, but at the end of the day, you still have to hold them accountable. There's still a job to be done. So therefore, you're still going to be requesting and expecting a certain output. So emotional intelligence is, look, I understand you're going through a hard time. We're going to help support you. We're going to understand that you're going through that divorce, but we still have that task that we need to complete. So if you need help, please ask me. Please, let's make sure we talk through it. We'll give you the support. If you need an extra body to help you do the administrative task, or if we need to give you the time to go to your legal events that you need to go to, let's certainly do that. We're empathizing with your scenario. We're empathizing with what you're going through, but we're still going to deliver to our expectations as leaders. So understanding some of those scenarios, right? And so, Willie, I'll come back to you and I'll ask of you, as you've gone through some of these where you've had some hard time in your businesses and you've had to stay grounded, make some empathy type decisions, and how did you deal with them?
Yeah, that's something that I definitely had a challenge sometimes with, but I feel like what helped me a little bit or the most actually is my morning routine that I started having when things got tough. I had to find somewhere where I could ground myself. And to me, it was actually my morning routine that I would meditate and just ground myself by meditating and actually reading the scripture. And I feel like that proper routine in the morning for me was that where I ground myself, and no matter what happened during the day, I was able to show empathy and also care for whatever was going on, but at the same time, still getting things done, whatever needed to be done. And one example I'm thinking about, there was a time where I had to let go of some very key staff to me. And it was a hard morning trying to figure out how I'm going to stay grounded and calm through all this. But I was able to do it. And I sometimes, or that's where I point back to, is it was how I started my morning each day to be able to stay grounded and no matter how tough decisions I had to make that day. So yeah, let's say that's one example for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one that I thought you did really well, and what most leaders tend to struggle with, is accepting your strengths and your weaknesses when it comes
Mm,
to emotional intelligence. Most leaders today have this belief that they have to have all the answers
yeah.
and that they have to know it all. And in that undue stress that is put on that leader is a trigger point for some. Because let's play out a scenario. You might have an employee or a personnel that comes to you, says, "Hey, Willie, I'm dealing with this problem. I need help. I don't know how to fix it." Blam, drops the problem on you, right? And what happens today, most leaders will try to figure out an answer and give you a resolution that is rushed, that is emotionally driven because they feel they have to answer something.
Mm,
Otherwise, their leadership ability or leadership may be called in question. What you did really is you helped turn that back to the individual and you applied one of the best practices that I want everybody to pay attention to. And that is flipping it back to the person and saying, I get it. Like, I understand you're going through that. What are your thoughts? Help me understand your perspective on how you think we should deal with it. Now, you didn't answer them, you didn't give them the answer they were looking for, but you now engage them to
mm,
think deeper. They now can propose an answer to you. And now all you need to do is check the answer. Does that
mm.
answer make logical sense? Is it applicable? Does it align to your core values? And does it align with your overall vision? And if it does, go with it. That's the answer. That sounds like a great answer. Let's roll with that. I'll be here to help support you through it. Now, it didn't question your leadership. It didn't make you look like you didn't have the answer. You were able to stay emotionally grounded and you delivered to what the individual was looking to have help with.
Yeah.
So that's something that I remember you did quite well. So tell us, how did you learn that, and how did you apply that, or why did you start all of a sudden applying that?
I think it led to doing that because I so many times found myself not knowing the answers. And I figured out how to turn that back to them and ask what they're thinking would be best to do. And the other part was back in 2013 when I hired a business coach. He talked so much about, men, you need to start hiring people that are better than you. And so all of a sudden I dropped my guard when I learned that, where, man, I want to have people that know a lot more than what I know. And it helped me, yeah, take my ego off, say, and start just asking more questions. And so that's been a big thing for me, is keep asking questions and turning them back to them, and then figure out the solution together.
Yeah. And that's a great tip that I wanted to really point out today, as it connects to emotional intelligence, because a lot of leaders feel pressured by needing to have all the answers and
Mm,
needing to know it all. And that's not necessarily true. You need to know how to lead and how to guide. You don't need to have all the answers, quite simply. Okay. The next piece that I wanted to touch on around emotional intelligence is tied to emotional accountability. And this is clarity without emotional leakage. And what does that mean? It's accountability that is not emotionally driven through understanding. Consistency is the main factor around accountability.
mm,
Most leakage around emotional leadership occurs when you're not consistent. When you start to make exceptions, when you make deals with a certain group and not the other one, and or when you don't practice what you preach. And that is when you're going to really have a tough time with accountability and sticking through the process. What's going to happen is you're going to justify poor performance for those that you like, for
mm,
those that make you feel comfortable, for those that make you feel like you're a great leader. You're going to make excuses and you're going to allow for some of those things to progress. And so understanding that normalizing feedback for yourself and being pushed for yourself for growth, it is healthy. It's healthy as well to provide feedback for your employees and challenging them and holding them accountable. And so, in order to do that, you want to, again, we talked about this for previous weeks, but clarify expectations early, and you want to address those behaviors early. You want to follow up and you want to stay consistent with those specific loops. Clarify, address, follow up. Consistency in those points will ensure that your emotional intelligence in feedback goes from confrontational into collaboration. And so you're going to work together versus
mm,
having conflict, because you're no longer just going to get upset, or people around your teams aren't going to get upset when they get called out on a feedback loop. They're in fact, they're going to embrace it, and you're, as a leader, have shown them that it's okay to be able to do that. And because you're now working with a set of guidelines that enables you to focus on consistency and high performance and not on ego, is going to, again, broader the impact through your organization. So I go back to you, Willie. I know we had lots of stuff, a lot of times where we had emotional intelligence challenges in the organizations with egos in particularly, right? In the teams.
mm.
And you were always pretty grounded, but you had a lot of big egos around you. So how did you handle it as a leader, as the people that, as a person that everybody came to?
Yeah, I think, what would I say about, yeah, the Eagles around? Yeah, the Eagles were pretty big on some people, or whatever you want to call them. But I think the part, if I listen to them and then let them speak first and let them say what they think is best. But then I always would come back with some other questions. And then, so in that scenario, I would say you need to keep asking the next question. And then all of a sudden they will come to see, oh, maybe that first decision isn't the right decision. And so I could kind of veer this decision to what I would like to actually see. So I think in order to do that is by keep asking the next question until you get to where you want to see the decision to be made.
And so you were doing that through check-ins, right?
Yes,
You were staying tied close to the individuals and ensuring that the egos were aligned with your expectations and doing those check-in loops.
that's right. Yeah, the check-ins were a huge piece of that. Yeah.
Perfect, because that ties into what I'm talking about next, which is how do you now start to impact and actually put some momentum and some practical tools to emotional intelligence. So we talked about what it looks like. We talked about how it feels and how it can be a problem for your organization. Now let's talk about what those emotional scales are in your organizations. And the first one is fear. Second is resentment, and the third one is burnout. Those are the emotional scales that you're going to see in your organization. And so, how do you deal with those? Clarity is the way to tackle uncertainty. Uncertainty can come from business pivots, changes, growth, drops in volumes, all of the above. People become uncertain. And so when they're uncertain, there's a lot of gossip, a lot of chatter, providing clarity to that uncertainty. Hey, we just provided a new service or we just gained a new customer. People don't know what that's going to look like. Is it going to mean more work? Is it going to mean more stress? Guys, we got this new client. Here's the expectations. Here's what we see that is going to look like. Here's the win for the organization. Here's our pitfalls. What do you guys think? What can we do to manage the pitfalls? Is we have to have our service hours extended by another 2 more hours, because that could certainly be a topic where you might need to discuss who's going to provide the coverage. What schedule shifts do we need to offset to provide longer operating hours? Again, clarity beats uncertainty. And so that's very important for us as leaders to be able to provide that. The next one is calm over control. Do not try to control a situation. All that's going to do is stunt growth and stunt engagement. Stay calm, allow the team to see it through by engaging and encouraging ideas and encouraging the team members that are actually in the middle of the firefighting to propose solutions. Do not feel that you need to control the situation. Again, the scenario we talked about earlier. A question gets posed or asked of you that you don't know the answer. Don't feel like you have to be in control of the situation and give the wrong answer. Bounce it back, stay calm, answer with a question, and encourage engagement and encourage that individual to be part of the solution, problem solving. So the next one that we just talked about was check-ins. Check-ins beats assumptions. Do not assume that someone or a individual or department is going to do well or struggle with something, vice versa, until you have those check-ins, right? Don't think, oh man, this person is horrible at this. In your check-ins, you'll find out that person was trained wrong. That person did not receive clarity on how to do the task, right? Do not assume someone's trying to do bad for the sake of doing bad, or that they're being lazy for the sake of being lazy. It could be that you as a leader didn't ensure their onboarding was right, that you didn't train them right, and or that you didn't communicate their role correctly to them, and so therefore they've never truly gotten to understand their role. So the check-ins, as you were mentioning, Willie, that you had those conversations, you were able to allow both you and the individual to ensure you stayed connected and clarified any misunderstanding. Therefore, you didn't have assumptions. You knew now, okay, how I see I've trained them. Now I know this person just simply doesn't get it. And you can make an an intelligent decision that is not emotional. So that's a very tactical way of us as leaders putting some of these in play. Again, I'll go back to you, Willie, and let's talk about through some of the events that you saw and how it helped you as an entrepreneur, you as a leader, and overall at Willie's Trucking.
Yeah, it was definitely something that I feel like was able to, if I was able to stay grounded. And the one thing that I was thinking about was I learned where if you get upset or not be able to control yourself, then instantly you lose. And so you have to stay calm and keep asking those questions in order to, yeah, get on the same playing field. Otherwise, you're losing if you're fighting back. And what else was the question, Hector?
Again, just how did you stay focused in always being consistent to what you were to the message you were providing?
Yeah, to me, that was just a big thing was staying calm. That was always in the back of my mind. No matter what the situation, I would stay calm. And I can kind of testify to that where I know when I sold the business, there were actually two different employees came to me one day, and the one I think had worked with us for 8 years, and he said he wanted to tell me one thing, and I said, "So what's that?" And he said, or he had one question, and I said, "What's that?" He said, "Do you ever get angry? I've never seen you angry in 8 years." And I said, "I am sometimes more angry than you think I am, but I'm staying calm." And so, yeah, that's when I knew I had controlled myself. But I think I saw the importance of that, where the team could trust me and they wouldn't get yelled at or whatever. And because of that, I was able to make great progress on trying to steer the ship when we were struggling.
Yeah. And one of the key pieces in a best practice that I'll share with this group is find your emotional outlet. Find that emotional outlet. There's a trusted person in your organization or within your world, in your space, that you can let that out. Right. I remember many conversations you and I had, Willie, at 10, 11 p.m. at night. And we talked about it. You would be upset about the way something went. You were calm, but you would let out your emotion. You would say, "This can't happen. We need to be able to fix this. We need that," which is an outlet that everyone as leaders need to have. And I have my emotional outlets. I think an individual that I have in the room here today, I have Cecilia here. She's my emotional outlet. There'll be days when I'll just call her and I say, "Okay, listen, I'm about to vent. Like I'm just gonna let you hear me out because I need a vent. I need to vent." And so just having that is a healthy way to make sure that you stay grounded as a leader. The others don't get to see that, but you still can uphold your own like health for you, your well-being, because you have to stay in check and you have to be able to be that leader in front of everybody else. And so it's important to be able to do that.
And I would say for us men, it is probably one of the hardest things to do. My wife always tells me, us ladies have a very easy time with venting, but you men, you need to let out what's on your mind. And so I think finding someone that you can vent that to is so helpful.
It is a sort of trick. It's again another nugget of information that a lot of individuals just don't know and don't feel comfortable doing. But I can tell you when you have that outlet, it becomes so healthy because you can show that you're human. You're human. You go through emotional rides. However, you just need to let it out and now you're grounded. Now you're ready to go back at it. It's not a whine session or that, or it's about, look, I just got this problem. I need to hear me out. And who knows, maybe there's a solution that comes through that conversation, right? But as we wrap up today, I wanted to just recap this and understanding and talking about, again, That emotional intelligence is understanding the battlefield and understanding that this is a business practice that you have to be mindful of, that you have to evolve, and you have to be learning on this. It's not a nice to have. This is not a, oh, that person will do it for me. No, you are the leader, you're the owner. You need to be grounded and you need to lead with emotional intelligence. You need to ensure that you manage and you understand the core tool, which is yourself. You are the one that folks need to see that through. And that you have to navigate the tough waters through empathy and emotional understanding. You have to be able to read the room. You have to know when to act and when to back off. It's all about understanding that emotional intelligence, but always upholding your standards. Regardless of your emotional decision making, it has to be clear and you have to uphold it. If you say to yourself, this is something that is a no debate for me, I'm not going to budge on this. I'm not going to make exceptions on this expectation. You have to stay true to that. And understanding systems around you that consistently enable you and others to have emotional intelligence growth through the organization, because with it, with an emotionally intelligent culture, you will have scalability. That means understanding feedback loops and being comfortable with feedback loops within the organization. If someone in your team can't absorb feedback, they can't grow, which means your organization can't grow. And so you have to be able to build that culture internally as well. So that's the message today. We're going to have an entire course and video that's going to drop next week around this, which will give you some specific tools around how to apply it, real life scenarios, and that sort of thing. But you're going to find all that in our community page where there'll be the full videos around this. So I'll pass it back to you, Willie, and then we can open up for questions.
Yeah, very good. Awesome. With that, we want to open it up to any questions out there, or yeah, any questions, I say, even if it's not related to this, we're willing to, yeah, try to answer any other questions, maybe any other challenges that you might have in your business. Yeah.
James,
And
we haven't seen you in a while. How you been? We'll start with you.
Got to unmute myself first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been good. I think I've missed, I don't know, 4 sessions maybe.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks we haven't seen you. We assumed you were enjoying the summer break.
We were in holiday mode.
Yeah. That's the time of year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but it was good. It was good break. Yeah.
Great business. How's business doing?
Business is good. Yep. It's got its struggles, but
Yeah, you dealing with any emotional intelligence issues right now in the jobs or
well,
with your teams?
yeah, there's always things that could work better. But off of what you were saying, I think sometimes for us, specifically lead hands, I feel if you go and correct one lead guy, he'll take correction at a totally different level. Or you can always feel the resistance between two lead guys. One, for example, if we're going over a set amount of time on a job, where you've accounted for 15 hours and they're at 25 hours, and you go and approach them, some of them will be totally fine with accepting the fact that somebody's trying to correct them, whereas I have another guy that will just get defensive right away, right? It's this and this. So I would say, yeah, basically keeping it consistent across a company and everything applies to all the lead guys sometimes is the struggle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a sign of that lack of emotional intelligence when it comes to the lead hand who can't accept some of that criticism. And making them feel that they're human is the important part there. Is just saying, look, man, I get it. Don't take this personal. We just want to make sure that the message is consistently heard. And so I have to be this way with you because I have to be this way with everyone. And the expectation is you're going to continue to deliver through these sets This is the way the quality of work that we want to put out. And so we just expect you to be understanding of that. And if I'm missing something, help me understand it. Show me, what am I not seeing that you're seeing, so that we can work together in closing those quality concerns that we might have. So that's
Yeah,
good. That's a good one. Go ahead, Willie.
and yeah, and this is where it really comes in, where people need to be feel understood too, right? If you keep correcting them, then it comes that way across. Some don't handle it. But like I said to you, James, earlier, I was actually with James earlier today, and I highly recommend him to really do one-on-ones with all his employees right now and just ask the question, what's working for you and what's not working for you? And let them first express how they feel, and then bring some correction to that once you have let them speak out what they're feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good point, Willie. And that's exactly it. Is a lot of individuals have great ideas of both what's working and what isn't. And so let the individuals explain it to you. Again, your job as that leader is to filter that information and what is true and what is applicable for your business. And then you can make the right decisions. So good one. That's great,
Yeah.
James. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, let's go over to Cecilia. I think she's next on my view. I don't know who else. I see Peter, but I don't know if there's others that have the cameras off. So we'll go next to you, Cecilia.
Yes, I have a situation, actually something similar to what James was saying. I actually have to deal with this. It's still pending. Probably tomorrow is going to be the day. Have an individual in our team, in one of my teams that I work directly with. And the issue is that it's causing a lot of frustration, the lack of engagement of this in particular individual with the rest of them, with the rest of the team. There are mistakes that happen, the people have to pick up the slack and this and that. So it's like getting noticeable. At first it was, we could brush it off, like it was, yeah, no, or this happened, there was something, there was always something to justify it. But right now I can feel it. Like this is where the emotional intelligence comes into play, because no one has to say anything. They don't have to come to me to say it. I just feel it in the room. Like this is what's happening when we're addressing the issues. We're like, oh, okay, so this weekend this happened, this, we go over the list, and everybody
Yeah.
stays quiet because they all know why it happened, or that person was involved, or that person didn't do the job that was supposed to do. And I think that it's important to, yeah, take into account this person's feelings, and of course listen to what he has to say about it. And it's probably, we're gonna start there. Do you see anything wrong, or you think or feel that anything is happening, or you think everything is working fine, or something like that? But at the same time, we have to address it, we have to make him aware.
Yes,
And we
that's right.
have to get him involved as of, okay, this is what's happening. Let's work together and make a plan how we're going to change this and how we're going to make it better. And then, like you say, like you mentioned before, the check-ins.
Yes.
Now going from there, we're gonna, it's not like a write-up, it's just a conversation, but we have to document it, and we have to be checking in that how we improving from this, right?
Yes.
And then listen
Absolutely.
to again what he thinks, his opinion and the feelings, because we want to make it factual, and we will. We're gonna talk about specific mistakes or specific situations that happen. It's not gonna be general, but even if it's factual and if it's things that happened, you still feel like they're attacking you, or they're, or not attacking, maybe that's not a word, but yeah, that the people are coming to you, or people are complaining, right, about you.
Yes.
So that's the part that me as a leader, I have to take into account. Like, I don't want him to feel like, okay, all these people are complaining. No, but we're all pulling this way, and we don't want to have these mistakes. So we need your part.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, that's what.
It's about being transparent and setting the opportunity to have open, honest conversations and provide that feedback. So I'm glad you're tackling it. It's the first time I'm hearing about it, so that's great. That's awesome that you guys are dealing
You
with
don't
it.
have to. Yeah, you don't worry about it. It's all good.
I love it. I love it. That's so good.
Yeah.
But it shows that there's a lot of internal growth and development within the team. That's exactly the right approach, by being able to have those conversations and just set that expectation with upholding the alignment piece, right? And knowing that, hey, look, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we expect. Do you see anything wrong? Tell us what you're seeing through all this. The person might see it and they may tell you, yeah, I don't understand it. Or maybe they don't see it. And that's where you have to put your foot down and say, here's the impact that we're seeing. We're going to need your help in closing this gap. Yeah. So good. It's awesome. Appreciate you sharing that, Cecilia. That's great. Peter, we'll come to you. What questions do you have, or what do you see here from tonight's conversation?
The one thing that I've seen in regards to Cecilia and James, Willie mentioned talk to these workers. What I have found out, interestingly enough, I had a meeting. I took it to heart what you said last week. You have to go and talk to these people and make it urgent enough so they understand. So I took that to heart. So I did.
Nice.
And I sat down with two business owners, and they don't know this that I'm doing this, but behind, I have asked the workers like if they're happy with the company because I know where I come from. So I just asked them, "Are you happy with the company?" It was interesting what they told me because to me, they feel like they're open minded to me, but they will never talk to the bosses like this, right? So I asked them, "Are you happy with the company?" "I'm happy with the work," he said. "I'm really happy with the bosses, but I have been offered better pay and a different job that I also like, but I'm not going to take it because I really love these guys that I work for."
Yeah.
So just hang on a second here.
Oh, Peter's on the side of the road.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that Peter's applying some of the stuff that we're talking about.
So I asked them, and they said, "You know what? I wouldn't go work for somebody else for more money because I really appreciate these guys. So they bring us home every night so we can stay with the family." And that is something they will never talk to their bosses. And even if their bosses ask about it, they won't talk about it. Why? Because they feel comfortable talking to a stranger versus to the boss. So that's where sometimes talking to a stranger is more helpful than talking to the boss. And let's say I got hired to James's crew, I would work with James's crew for a week and I talk to these guys and report back to them. He would get way more information than he goes and talks to the guys if the guys are really disconnected from him or like the way he was saying, like he gets very offensive. Like that's one of the things I found out with these guys. They get offensive, and when I talk to them, they're open minded. I'm not saying
Right.
that you don't do a great job, James. I know you do. I'm just saying, but
Yeah.
that's what I found. And as far as that goes, I really appreciate the advice that you gave me last week. So I'm very happy about that. Thank you.
That's awesome, Peter. I'm glad you're putting it to use. I would encourage everybody to break out of your shell and start to apply some of these things and really get comfortable addressing some of these tough and challenging, not so fun things to do in business. But it's in these tasks that your business will grow healthy and a strong foundation that will really allow for scalability. Everybody just gets really focused on the shiny objects and they forget about the people impact and the data impact. We talked about that last week. And it's in those core concepts that you're going to find stability and again scalability. So that's awesome, Peter. Appreciate you sharing that. I don't know who else we have on the call that has their camera off, Willie.
80, are you available on the?
Hey, hi Willie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Awesome. Hey,
Hey,
this
how are you
this
guys
must be
doing?
your first time on the call, isn't
It's
it?
my first time joining, and it's been a pleasure getting the feedback from Hector, from yourself, James, everybody throwing up their own experiences in handling conflicts using emotional intelligence. Cecilia was amazing, giving a brief on my experience along the line. And yeah, it was awesome. I do have a question. And sorry, I'm just at work. So
That's okay.
yeah, so my question is, in your own opinion or your own experience, how have you handled a situation where you felt misunderstood, but then the feedback did not come directly to you, went to somebody else, and no, that's not my intention. That's not what I meant. How do you go back, building a bridge with that person, letting the person know that, you know what, I think there was a misunderstanding. And the person is saying, oh, no, I feel everything is fine. I don't have any issues. But then they're telling other people that this is what I think this person meant. But
Yeah.
that's not exactly what you meant. It was a clear misunderstanding. But the person is not coming up front to tell you, hey, you know what, I think this is how I understood it. But then they're going back to other colleagues or other people and venting their confusion to them. How would you
Right.
go around handling it without divulging that a third party let you know that they were upset?
That's a great scenario. I love it. I've seen this many times over. And I can tell you it's one of the trickiest ones to overcome because you have trust in the person that came to you with the information that you
Yeah,
don't want to impact in any
that's
way.
right.
And you also have a credibility with the person who is taking offense to whatever misunderstanding that took place, or they're feeling a certain way about that confusion, right? What I would ask first is this a scenario that is bothering a group of people, a team, or just one individual, just so that I know how it can be addressed?
In this particular scenario and scenarios that I've been opportune to hear about, it's been one person. It's just like cancer. One person
Mm-hmm.
has a negative experience and then they just begin to pour the poison onto other people,
Yeah.
to make it, and then it begins to spread if you don't handle it on time.
Okay, perfect. Okay. What I would do is in a scenario like this, I would just openly say to the individual, just say, hey, listen, I know we talked about that scenario and you told me it was fine and that you don't have any issues with it. However, I'm feeling like maybe I wasn't clear. So I want to take a moment to just go through that and provide clarity because I'm not feeling like I was clear enough. You're not telling them that you heard that this person's not clear or that there's rumors about it. You put it back on yourself and you make yourself human and you say, hey, listen, I was rethinking about that scenario and I just think I may have said things that weren't clear. Can we discuss that a little bit? I'd love the opportunity to clarify it for you. And then you can have that conversation again. And then you can hit on the points that you want to address. But you've opened it up to say, I feel this way. I feel like I wasn't clear with you. Can you give me the opportunity to discuss it again with you? Then there's no pressure on that person to say, yeah, I didn't hear it or I felt this way. It's just, okay, yeah, let's talk through it. Yeah, like I told you I'm fine, but we can talk through it again. Or you can say, I know you're okay, but I just want to have an opportunity to revisit it. I want to make sure that I understand it and that you understand it. Let's talk through it. And then it's up in the open again. You can address any point that you may feel is misunderstood. And now everybody can move on from the scenario.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Perfect. Makes perfect sense.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Thanks, Hector.
Because then it takes the pressure off of that person, which is what you want to ultimately do.
Exactly. Yes, that's
Yep.
right.
Yeah. Perfect. Good. Glad.
Thank you.
Good question. Good scenario. Those are so tough. So tough. And what I'll say with this is that emotional intelligence piece that I talked about, check your ego, put your ego on the side. It doesn't matter right now whether you were right or wrong. What you need to do is provide clarity. That's it.
That's right.
And so you just are able to put yourself in a vulnerable space and now divulge the right information.
That's right, Hector.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Awesome. Great question and really good scenario. Anybody else that is on with their cameras off?
Yeah, I think that's everyone so far. A couple people have left already. So,
Oh,
no,
okay. Awesome. Well,
very
great.
good.
I think that brings us right up to 6 p.m., eh, Willie?
You bet. We're at the top of the hour. And so, yeah, thank you everyone for joining and let others know if you're enjoying this, feel free to invite other people to this call. We're really planning to grow this community and helping leaders in the business world. Thank you again, everyone. And that will be it for today. Have a good
Awesome. Thank you.
Glad you joined, and again, come back next week. And remember that this video will be posted as well as with the tutorials into the community. So please jump in there and provide some feedback through those that community chat points.
Awesome.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
All right, great.
Okay.
Thanks.
you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Thanks.
Later.
Bye.
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 Thank you.